This is one of the last great virgin rainforests in the world. Adventurers are drawn into the shadows of its endless canopy. When France arrived here 300 years ago, it dreamt many things for this steaming equatorial outpost. 70,000 deported convicts were meant to develop it. Sugar plantations failed. Gold rushes have come and gone. The forest has reclaimed them all. But the dream is far from over. This is still a corner of France. It's only Amazon province, and unquestionably a gendarme's weirdest beat. Descendants of escaped African slaves and ex-convicts who found refuge here still scratch a living, panning for forest gold. In reality, there's not much left now, but the myth of El Dorado will never lose its power. The forest holds a mysterious attraction, a wonderful place for dreamers.
We are just above the Maripa Rapids, one of the biggest rapids in French Guiana. It's always very moving to be here. For centuries it has stopped people from going into the interior, where the Indians have always lived in relative peace.
Rudolf Vachinger is one of French Guiana's best-known dreamers. He's an adventurer, a wanderer, an old-fashioned romantic. Why, for heaven's sake, he even joined the Foreign Legion. Then he came to French Guiana for a month. And 20 years later, he still hasn't left.
Okay then, Lydia. Bye. I will be away perhaps 9 days.
A beautiful young Brazilian wife may be one reason, but there are others. Brought up in the forests of Austria, wounded 3 times in Vietnam, he came here to study the diet of hummingbirds. Now he has created the country's only wildlife reserve and a breeding colony of 19 jaguars. The forest and its animals are his passion, and his life is devoted to saving them.
Putain des forces que j'ai. Hop là. Attention, on va tomber, hein. Oui, c'est. Tu vas glisser là et puis tu vas pas là. On va se casser le cul.
He is setting off on one of his favorite pursuits, chasing around the forest with a band of Indians looking for animals. On the way, he'll visit some old friends, fellow members of an eccentric club of uprooted Europeans for whom these forests are a magnet.
Voilà. On peut aller.
Most of them came to escape a life of drab conformity. A few were fleeing lives devastated by the Second World War, seeking a new beginning and adventure. With outboard motors and friendly Indian guides, adventure comes easy these days. As Rudolph penetrates deeper and deeper into the interior, another well-known bushman flies high above. Ex-commander of Red Army decoy tanks and cannon fodder for the Panzers, Francois Suski, the bush pilot from Silesia, is on his daily supply run. Perched high above the forest for the last 30 years, he's had plenty of time to think.
I hope they don't bury me in a cemetery in Cayenne. Somewhere there. The further away, the better. It's a huge garden. Fascinating. Anything's better than being among the tombs and the dead in a cemetery. I want to be there.
The forest is dotted with gold mines, lost in the expanse of green. Suski feeds them. The miners wait for his daily baguette drop. He is famous for two things: flying by the seat of his pants and his painting.
It's my worst nightmare, a spirit lost in the thunderstorms. It's not a plane, it's the ghost of a plane. It's the spirit of an aeroplane in flight. I haven't painted the details. I won't finish the plane. I'll leave it like that, a passing spirit. A lost plane, the spirit of a lost pilot. Lost between two storms in the jungle, the forest, the endless forest. It's my own personal private kingdom. I'll stay here, my second homeland. Life's fourth dimension. Up here, I'm in charge. I glide above it all. A plane lets a man rise above ordinary life to be free, to fly over everything. You become God of the jungle.
Here, men lose themselves in the steamy heat of the endless equatorial summer, in a forest that stretches to eternity. An empty land with 2 towns, a road, and only 140,000 people. A magical space where the imagination is free to unfurl.
I'm on the upper part of the Oyapock, surrounded by a green wall. This wall of green is the Amazonian forest, where it's easy to get lost. For me, the forest is my dream, a childhood dream. I always dreamt of living surrounded by animals in the middle of the forest. I dreamt a lot about the Indians. This dream has finally come true. I can go to the forest when I want, where I want, and as much as I want.
Nous, les Blancs, nous n'essayerions jamais un Indien dans la forêt.
We, the whites, will never be like Indians in the forest. Even if we live with the Indians for 100 years, they'll always be superior because they have been brought up in the forest for generations. They can see what we can't. From the Indian point of view, we are blind. I've spent my whole life in the forest, but I've never been able to see like an Indian. I've an Indian wife. She can see and she calls me blind.
Fewer than 3,000 Indians are left in French Guiana, where once there were tens of thousands. The modern world hovers over their lives. Illegal gold miners are poisoning their rivers. With dredgers, they eke out a living from the gold-laden mud and silt. They work day and night in 4-hour shifts underwater, churning up the riverbed. These miners are penniless Brazilians, fleeing inflation and poverty at home and dreaming about pots of gold at the end of a rainbow. Vacuuming up the silt, they wash it in mercury to extract the gold, and then excrete their poisonous effluent back into the river. Ahead is the most dangerous part of the river, rapids, where churning water and huge boulders lie hidden beneath the surface, waiting to crush the canoe. Many miners drowned here during the days of the gold rush, along with their gold. They say this is the richest river in French Guiana, where the white waters protect their sunken treasure. The modern world is on collision course with the forest. Daily, hunters take canoe loads of endangered species down to the chic restaurants of the capital, Cayenne. In Rudolph's book, the greatest danger to the forest is man's desire to kill. Rudolph's mission is to save whatever he can.
In Guyana, people just massacre every animal on sight. This brave hunter killed the mother and found its baby, but wasn't brave enough to finish his job and slaughter the baby as well. So for the last 3 months I've been looking after this little two-toed sloth called Luno. I think it's really disgusting to kill animals for fun. Anyway, what can you eat on a sloth? It has almost no meat. And talking about meat, that's all the hunters want. What's more, that's a form of wildlife at risk of disappearing fairly soon.
We decided to come to Guyana, but we didn't know where, because it was a childhood dream of mine. My dream was to live in the forest, in a log cabin surrounded by trees. And I have partly fulfilled my dream.
Madame Alanque read an article in a magazine. It portrayed an idyllic gold mining village in a forest paradise.
de géo ça nous a donné envie de venir justement dans ce petit village.
Geo brought us to live in this small village where we hope to learn from the natives. And in return, they could learn something from us. And then we could all share the fish and game we caught. But it didn't turn out like that. Nothing fitted the description.
Rien ne correspondait, il y avait un climat assez malsain à ce moment-là.
The climate was fairly unhealthy at the time.
Alors on a commencé à chercher.
So we started searching for a creek near Saül, and we came across les eaux claires, which was then an unspoiled corner of the forest, where we clear a little hole which gradually became larger.
Faire un petit trou et à agrandir au fur et à mesure, voilà. Saül se situe vraiment.
Saül is right in the heart of the Guyanese forest. A little hole here. When you fly over, it looks like a bunch of broccoli. It's really spectacular. Because when you see it from above, it really is a hole in the forest.
She arrived here in the middle of nowhere with her husband, 2 sons, and not a penny to her name. Nine years later, and with 2 grandchildren, she presides as matriarch over a small French jungle clan. She has gained a daughter-in-law, Marie-Claude, who, passing through as a tourist, fell in love with her son and joined the clan. Since then, she has watched her family grow. They have transformed their patch of wilderness into a little garden paradise. They have designed and built everything themselves. But paradise is always easier with a bit of power and the latest toolkit. They dreamt of the simple life and escape, but you can't get away that easily. They've had to mortgage their paradise. They've turned their hidey hole into a hotel for adventure tourists. Why did Madame Alanque pull up her roots and come here? She was born to a family of French colonials in Algeria who were forced to leave after independence. She went to Paris, but the rat race wore her down. Then to the backwoods of Canada, where she froze. Like Rudolph and Suski, she's another of Europe's rootless souls who found a final refuge in this colonial outpost.
Ou peut-être partir quand même un jour.
Non, moi j'envisage de finir ma vie ici. C'est d'ailleurs mon mari qui est enterré ici, donc.
I will spend the rest of my life here. My first husband is buried here, but then I would like to have more time to do gardening and other things than just always cooking. I love cooking, but not all the time. I would like to have some spare time to do my own thing, to read, to do whatever I want. But right now, I can't imagine living anywhere else.
Allez, c'est bon. Allez, c'est parti là.
Allez, on attaque là, qui est là. Allez, attaque-moi ça, là.
French Guiana is a mosquito-ridden sea of mud, the perfect place for the Foreign Legion. Not for them the usual anxiety about mosquito nets and jungle gear. These young men are here to get dirty, get tough, and to guard this strange back door to Europe.
Épaule droite. Allez. C'est bien. Et on continue, on sort.
Remember, this is a department of France, and just like the others, it's funded direct from Paris. Millions of francs are being poured into a hydroelectric dam. The hope is that Guyana, which has never had a positive balance of payments, now has a faint chance of industrial development. And everything in this quiet corner of France goes on under the benign surveillance of the French gendarmerie.
Bien, vous savez, la gendarmerie est une force de sécurité publique.
The gendarmerie is a force for public security.
Elle est chargée de
It has a number of
la
assignments.
délinquance sous toutes ses formes. Elle est chargée
We are responsible for fighting delinquency
routière.
and for road safety.
Elle est chargée ici en Guyane, comme ailleurs, mais avec une dimension particulière.
We are responsible, particularly here in French Guiana, because of the unique situation in the state,
Avec les autres forces
to fight against illegal immigration.
de lutter contre
We
l'immigration.
collaborate with other police forces in the
Présente
state.
en Guyane une
This is a very important dimension here in French Guiana.
c'est ainsi qu'en 93,
For instance, last year, in 1993, the police force alone deported 7,000 people across the frontier.
The investment here is not just French. Guyana is the home of the European Space Agency, the launch pad for the Ariane rocket, and Europe's dream of joining the satellite communications race. Rudolph's next port of call is Saint-Georges, a no-man's land, a smuggler's outpost on the Brazilian border. It's a meeting place for renegades, run on contraband and alcohol to fuel the gold miners' dreams. He's always keen to meet his Legionnaire friends. It's a chance for him to show off his latest catch.
In my sack, I've got what I caught in Wanneré. I've got some dangerous frogs and a rainbow boa constrictor. It's not poisonous.
La chose la plus redoutable, évidemment, c'est la grenouille à venin.
These frogs are called dendropads. They are very dangerous.
Can we swap for some emeralds, eh?
No problem. I'll swap the frogs for some emeralds.
Qui est complètement inoffensif, alors même l'allure méchante qu'il a.
Ça c'est un, comment on appelle ça,
Dendropate.
dendrobate.
7 years ago, Rudolf was asked to go to the forest with a team of Swiss scientists, just as the rainy season was about to break. He knew it was risky, but couldn't resist another jungle walkabout. They were out to catch tarantulas. He let himself be persuaded and nearly died. He saw a snake, perfect for his collection. This time he missed his mark and it bit his thumb. He knew it wasn't poisonous and forgot about it. But the fangs had punctured his skin. Some hours later, he caught one of the jungle's tiny tree frogs. It looks like the most harmless animal in the world. It isn't.
Ça que je viens de capturer, on appelle ça une dendropathe.
What I've just caught is called a dendropat. The exact species is Dendropat vinctorius. It's the most venomous animal in the world. 1 milligram of its poison will kill several people. It has a lethal neurotoxic venom. If you are hit by an arrow poisoned by dendropat, you won't live 10 seconds. You won't even run 100 meters before dropping dead in your tracks.
The lethal slime on its skin got into the snake bite. He fell paralyzed and unconscious, but mercifully held onto his machete. "12 hours later, delirious and disoriented, he came to in torrential rain. He tried to retrace his steps, but storm clouds and mist obliterated the sun and the horizon. For days, he wandered in circles. 7 times he came across the same cliff. Then he climbed down and stumbled into an ancient cave dwelling which had been used by Indians for thousands of years. It was a haven in the storm.
I was very happy when I found this cave. I sheltered here from the torrential rain which fell for 9 days. When I was first lost, I dreamt of all the delicious meals I'd eaten in my life. My dreams were haunted by a nice fat child. I don't think if it had really happened, I would have gone that far. But the fantasy was totally real. I was so absolutely famished, starved, that I really don't think I would have hesitated to eat him raw. Anyway, I couldn't have cooked him. I didn't have anything to light a fire. I was dreaming. And another thing, a child would have been the easiest game to catch in the forest.
On the 12th day, the sun came out. He found his bearings and struggled on through the forest. Even the Foreign Legion had given him up for dead and called off their search. Saved by his machete, he hacked his way for 5 days back to civilization. Next on his visiting list is an old friend. Dropping in on the Duc de Saint-Omer means 11 hours up the longest private driveway in the world. On the way, he cools off in a tropical downpour. This forest camp is the mansion of the Duc de Saint-Omer. He came to these forests 40 years ago to deal in hardwoods before catching gold fever. It's a hopeless disease. Deep in the forest, 16 Brazilian laborers hose away at his claim, sifting through the leftover grains from the previous gold rush 50 years ago, waiting to strike it rich with an undiscovered seam. Saint-Omer is always on the verge of finding the seam that will make his fortune and recover his champagne lifestyle.
Here is where the seam starts. It goes into the mountain just below the water. It goes down like this into the ground and horizontally under the mountain in the direction of the rising sun. It's a dream come true. I came looking for this seam 8 years ago, and we found it 18 days ago. It could mean a fortune. It could mean many things. But the one thing it proves is the presence of primary gold in the mountain and further untapped deposits. It could be shallow or go very deep underground. If it goes down 170 meters with more and more gold, it will mean a fortune. But it'll be difficult to extract without forming a big company. But it's quite a thought. Just now they are washing out the earth and pebbles and gold that's in the canal. Everything will go down into that pit there and be pumped up to the amalgamation table, up there.
Voilà, on voit bien en dessous la carpette le mercure que les anciens ont laissé et qui est presque pur.
That's the mercury that the old miners left behind. It's almost pure. The carpet is full of gold. It's all amalgamated with mercury. We didn't need to add any mercury. It's all been left in the ground. It's amazing. It will come out really slowly. Then afterwards we wash it in Homo and bleach to clean it before distilling it in a retort. I'm going to have a good bath.
You do that. See you later.
At 73, Saint-Omer can't live on dreams alone, but at least one has come true. Another beautiful and young Brazilian wife.
For you, gold has become your raison d'être. Gold has become almost an obsession, a force from above, driving you onwards. You'll be a gold panner till the day you die.
Every day, as you said, despite my old age, I walk 12 to 15 kilometers to my mine. And yet, 14 months ago, I was under the knife in France with 2 heart operations.
And it hasn't stopped you from having very pretty and young wives. That's what keeps you young.
My wife is 32 and I have 3 children of 13, 11. Bruno? Here he is. Come on, Bruno, show your face. 11 years old and Daddy's little pet. He has a sister of 13 and a brother of 6. He hunts at night, he dives, he hunts, he swims, he cuts fish, he cooks meat. He is a real bushman, aren't you, darling?
One has to stay young, and to keep it up we need young wives. Despite you being French by birth and me having French nationality, we are both married to French women. They were, what shall I say, but we probably really only found the real meaning of life when we discovered Brazilian girls.
Without doubt, they are the perfect women.
On every count, not just in bed, but also in the kitchen. She's doing the cooking and the washing up right now, and it's almost 9 o'clock. and Madame Saint-Omer is washing the dishes and making the bread for breakfast. I don't think many French women would still do that.
Precisely.
Au clair margougis, au clair maraudeur là-haut. Une fois, il a fait une moute là. Minafine, Anne-Marie de Poignès.
After boiling off the mercury under pressure, this cake of gold is all that's left. His company and 17 families have to survive on it.
C'est pas tout à fait une galette, hein. C'est une demi-sphère. Exactement.
Exactly 329. 2,207,000, 22,000 francs.
When the workers are paid off, it's only just enough for Saint-Omer to live on. It's an honorable dream, but he'll never get rich.
Quand la barranque est terminée, puisqu'il en reste les 2/5, presque la moitié, on donnera le partage définitif à chacun des ouvriers qui ont travaillé, chacun des 5 ouvriers qui étaient dans la barranque.
Would you rather stay here or come to Cayenne?
Here. Yes. Here I feel more relaxed.
There's no school.
No, it's not that. Yeah, I can hunt. Yeah, it's good swimming.
Ah, that's good.
And there's no pollution. What I like the best is the noise of the tapir.
When it whistles.
Yes. Yeah, it will come soon. It only comes to feed.
Well, he's hungry.
When it comes, I try to climb on it. It throws me off.
So it's a female?
Male.
So it throws you when you climb on it?
Yes.
It's not a horse.
No. Also, I like to swim with it.
Does it like to swim with you?
But sometimes it's frightening. When the canoes come, they're frightened and stop the motor. But by then the tapirs run far away.
Ah, yes.
Une personnalité. Le tapir, c'est d'abord l'animal terrestre le plus grand de l'Amérique du Sud.
The tapir is the largest land animal in South America. It's one of the ancestors of our horse. But you can't call it a very clever animal. As an animal, it could be compared to a large cow. It's not a cow, of course, but it is gentle. This female weighs about 250 kilos, and you can do what you like with her. Sometimes she gets a bit upset.
The tapir is the gentle giant of the Amazonian forest. Its only natural enemy is the jaguar. It can usually escape from them by diving underwater, but it can't escape so easily from that insatiable hunter, man. By the end of the century, it may well be extinct in French Guiana. Rudolph is determined that many of these threatened species should find a refuge in his zoo. This is almost certainly the last breeding colony of giant caimans in French Guiana. His zoo gives Rudolph the chance to live with the animals he loves so much, like the rainbow boa constrictor that he brought back from his trip. But accusations are rife about exporting endangered species and profiting from the animals that he wants to protect. He brushes them aside. He has little respect for doctrinaire environmentalists and bureaucrats. This is his dream, and he's convinced of it.
You're better off here than in the forest. No one will kill you.
With the arrival of the new white tribe, what's happened to those who once really lived at peace with nature and so never had to dream about it? Now they have schools, PhDs, and park keepers who pull government-issue overalls over their loincloths. Doctors treat the Indians for the white man's diseases. Tuberculosis and flu have already decimated them. This is a French municipality with an elected Indian mayor. They all have full French citizenship, and that means they get at least $550 a month in income support from Paris.
Deep down, do you feel more Indian, more French, or both?
Well, I won't give up my traditions. I prefer to work with French funding. That way I can get money to do my work well. But I will always be Indian. In the time of my great-grandfather, they did not think like that. But now my people have taken to money. So we administrators need to have money too. Gold is valuable. And now we have discovered money. We want to deal in gold. Gold brings wealth, but also unhappiness. What they bring over is alcoholism, whores, drugs, and so on. That is why we don't want them. Our young people are starting to have problems.
It's nearly destroying your culture, the end of your tribe, because they are not angels, quite the opposite. As you said, drugs, alcohol, whores and diseases are on the increase. There are not homes over there. They are little shops. It's one big supermarket.
The gold miners came from across the river in Brazil and brought an avalanche of Western goods. Now that the gold rush is over, they live off the Indians. Every Saturday, after getting their welfare checks, the Indians cruise over to Brazil for a shopping spree. A once proud and independent people have been turned into state dependents. This must be the only cafe in South America whose best customers are Indians. State funding cuts both ways. It also wipes out vast areas of virgin forest. The new hydroelectric dam is flooding this dreamland to power up industrial development and Europe's venture into space. Rudolf is horrified. And now 8 million francs are being wasted on saving animals from the floodwaters, when they're nearly all natural swimmers anyway. He doesn't believe in it. For him, the real problem is not just to soften the impact of the dam, but to control the wholesale slaughter of animals and man's urge to meddle with the forest in the first place.
La forêt, elle ne veut du mal à personne.
The forest has never harmed anyone. People harm themselves in the forest. The forest is generous. It's been feeding the Indians for ages and they lived well. It's only us, with our white man's brain, who are destroying everything pretty and beautiful.
C'est bon. Ok, attends. Il est où mon crochet?
Today, the jungle is domesticated, sanitized, anesthetized, put under the microscope, and reduced to statistics. This is the sort of treatment that no dream can survive. Animal instinct locked up for good in a frozen gene bank. Let's hope the power of nature and the folly of dreamers will triumph.
Hello.